You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, you're in the Paracast, and last week, I have to tell you, this was a spectacular show, probably one of the best shows ever. And the reason is because we got this guy who is, a Skinwalker Ranch insider. Guy worked as a security guard, and he sees stuff in Las Vegas identifying the NSA. What do you know about Chip, Chris?
Well, first of all, Gene, I think we have more than that. I mean, Chip is kind of like the frosting on the cake. What we have is a really cool show with three investigators of probably what I would consider, personally, the most important case ever in the annals of the paranormal, at least in North America. We have scientists that have been on this ranch monitoring the activity, and we finally break that icy barrier, that ceiling, and get somebody from the inside to really, come forward and talk to us. I really can't go into details about how I became aware of Chip and others. Chip is only the tip of the iceberg. There are other people that are interested in talking about their experiences while being involved with the managers of that particular ranch facility in Utah. I can't really go into much detail, but I have seen enough documentation and things that totally pass my credulity test and my litmus test for viability in terms of a real source. And, I hate to sound all cryptic and everything, but there are legal issues involved here, as I'm sure some of our listeners are aware. These people have signed non-disclosure agreements, and by coming forward, they're violating those. So I really have to be careful from a legal standpoint of how much I say. But let's put it this way. Gene, I've been involved in this line of investigative work for a while, and there are certain levels of credibility that need to be met in my mind. And Chip is one of a number of sources that have met this particular litmus test. Let's put it that way.
And we have to understand, with someone like Bob Bigelow in charge of what goes on at Skinwalker.
Well, ostensibly so, but that's why I'm even more
That makes disclosure very difficult, because he puts strict control over the information that comes out. When he tried to do that deal with MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, where he gave them money, it was going to be everything going in and very little coming out.
Well, how about his arrangement, a rumored arrangement? I've never seen documentation of this, but it's rumored that Bigelow also has a sweetheart deal with the FAA, and they are funneling potential UFO reports to his organization. That never came up on the show, but that's something that a few people have heard, I'm sure, out there on the grapevine. I'd like to get one of our listeners to come up with some documentation to establish, this alleged rumored relationship.
Well, one of the things about keeping secrecy, if you funnel it through private industry, it's one sure way that even if things are disclosed accidentally through Freedom of Information documents, etc., the real secrecy is kept under black project money. I mean, as we learned about government, they don't keep track of every dollar that goes in and out of that place.
Right. What's the latest? That the budget had $2 billion that were earmarked for the Defense Department, and they're saying we didn't ask for that.
Yeah. I think that's $2 trillion. It's even worse. They want to add in the budget $2 trillion for the Defense Department because of these cuts.
$2 trillion?
$2 trillion, yeah. What's a zero among friends?
Oh. Ow!
Yeah, what's a zero among friends?
Yeah.
And the Pentagon says, well, we don't need it. But, of course, you have to think even the money they do get, there's a lot of waste going on there. And it's so easily to move things off book. I mean, how did they finance the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war during the previous administration? It was off the books. And that's something that costs, a couple of $1 trillion? You do that with something like spending money and sending it to private industry for special projects.
Right. Well, we know a lot of that money is funneled into exotic technology development, special projects, black projects, however you want to earmark it or call it. I'm sure the underground facility installation budget has been substantial over the years. It just really goes to show you, Gene, that we're living that Chinese curse of interesting times. This type of fiscal irresponsibility and lack of transparency, it just can't go on anymore. I'm beside myself with consternation about much of what goes on in this country, but we're getting off topic.
Right. I think it started with just talking about Skinwalker Ranch and what went on there,
Right.
and what association someone like a Bob Bigelow would have. We're talking about somebody worth about $1 billion, a rich private investor who is capable of getting involved in all sorts of transactions. And you have to think he's small potatoes compared to someone like the Koch brothers or Warren Buffett or
Right.
Bill Gates. They have many billions of dollars, and we don't know that they can't stick a few billion into one venture or another. And some of that may come back to what we're doing here. I mean, Paul Allen, one of the Microsoft co-founders, is
Man,
interested
that
in
would
the
be
space
nice if some
program.
of it came back in my direction.
I'll tell you, we'll make a bid. You know, can you imagine if someone just came over and came to the Paracast and said, I'm going to promote your show. Here's $100 million.
Yeah, listeners, take notes.
Very closely. Here's $100 million. You two hosts don't have to starve and have to suffer with tiny paychecks. You get the real money.
Well, I ain't starving.
Sure.
Tiny paychecks. I mean, that's. Gee.
I mean, listen, they're paying Rush Limbaugh $40 million a year. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's just to cover his OxyContin.
Is that all it is? Is that all there is? I wonder what, for example, Alex Jones, who's the flagship act at GCN Network, what does he get? He gets a few million, of course.
I would think Alex makes some serious scratch. Yeah.
Even George Norrie. Let me yawn. George Norrie, or as we call him, George Snorri. Sure, he's making what, $5 million from Ghost to Ghost, boring
Right.
people to death.
Yep. Well, in the meantime, we do have a show to do today, and I'm happy to announce that we have a couple of co-speakers at the upcoming UFOCon conference, September 15th and 16th and 17th in San Francisco. I will be there. I kind of got lassoed into this gig without knowing some of the other speakers, I must say. I don't want to sound, what would be the word?
Well, they're sending you a plane
unappreciative.
ticket, right?
They're sending me a plane ticket.
And you're going to go to San Francisco without
But
flowers in your hair.
I have never spoke or met, for that matter, Alfred Weber, Laura Eisenhower, what's his name, Andrew Basaggio. I've never met these individuals, and I'm going to be sharing the podium with them. Do you think I should bring my trickster hat and maybe play a little, have some fun and games, or for the True Believer Kool-Aid?
Sure, I think that'd be worthwhile. But I mean, you know, you're not the first one. Stanton Friedman has been on stage with people whose beliefs might be considered,
Well,
a
Richard
little
Dolan's
bit
going to
wild.
be there, and
Sure.
also our two guests, Ruben Uriarte, and well, there's going to be some good speakers there as well. Richard Dolan will be there. Michael Schratt, whose aerospace investigative work I admire. Ruben Uriarte and Harry Drew, our two guests today, are also going to be speaking, and I'm looking forward to talking to Harry, number one, because of the news that's been out here recently about new information about the Kingman UFO crash. And, of course, Ruben is always involved in some really cool stuff. He's also putting on a conference down in Presidio, Texas, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And it's going to be a good show, and I'm looking forward to touching bases with these guys once I'm out in San Francisco and of course, meeting up with Rich Dolan again. And this is going to be fun, and we're going to have a good show.
So I want to know, again, that Kingman, Arizona is not just the place I stop for some coffee when I'm traveling to Las Vegas. We're going to be interested in that.
No, actually, Kingman has a really interesting history. I did a haunted site investigation there at a particular hotel in town. That used
So I
to be
should have
largest-
stayed on. I should have stayed on. And maybe one of these days on the road from Phoenix to Las Vegas, I'll stop at Kingman, I'll investigate something, and then I'll get abducted. No, that's not quite the way I intended it. And I suppose some of our listeners will be glad if I'm abducted during a trip of that nature. But things do happen to me, but not quite that drastic. We
Yeah.
have Ruben Uriarte and Harry Drew. Coming up next, you're in
The Paracast.
Hey neighbors, you've seen all those crazy, wacky products on TV. The perfect tortilla, easy covers, hot booties, furniture fix, petty spin, and more. Where do you find all that stuff? You go to AsSeenOnTV.com because this is the one-stop source for all of these TV goods advertised. Find all your favorites as seen on TV. Check them out as seenontv.com. And by the way, save 10%. Here's what you do. Use the code SEEN1, S-E-E-N number 1, SEEN1. Go to asseenontv.com to order. Save 10%. Purchase this summer's hottest As Seen on TV items. Save 10%. Or call 1-866-277-3366. 1-866-277-3366. The code SEEN1 to save 10%.
Good day. Jim Newcomer from Midas Resources. September 7th, 2012. Gold opened this morning at $16.9620. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $17.3828, $8.6914 for a half ounce, or $4.3467 for a quarter ounce. That's $17.3828, $8.6914, and $4.3467.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase. And there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
What's safer and cheaper than prescription drugs?
Glad you asked. The answer is Renovation Teas. Herbal remedies are much safer and much cheaper than prescription drugs. Taste great, and most importantly, herbal teas are effective and non-addictive. Renovation Tea is especially unique, and here's why. We spent years researching herbs and their beneficial properties. Renovation Teas uses only 100% organic, fair trade herbs. Our teas are blended towards specific ailments and health conditions, such as diabetes, blood pressure, anxiety, libido, detox, and much more. All Renovation Teas are formulated and hand-filled in Arkansas. Take care of yourself naturally, the way Mother Nature intended. Order Renovation Teas at renovationtea.com or call 870-784-3121. That's 870-784-3121. Renovation Teas. Renovate your health one bag at a time.
Since 1974, Evelyn Gibson has helped thousands of people live healthier, happier, and more productive lives. GibsonsHealth.com demonstrates, educates, and inspires customers to replace their healthy erosive lifestyles with a health-enhancing one. Now, GibsonsHealth.com is pleased to offer AIM Ready Beets Pure Juice Powder. Beet juice has long been known as a blood purifier and builder of red blood cells. The American Heart Association says 1 in 3 adults has high blood pressure and hypertension. Researchers found that a daily glass of beet juice beats high blood pressure. And not only that, just a teaspoon or 2 a day of Ready Beets powder increased stamina by 16%. Certainly, drinking beet juice daily is a better solution than most meds with their side effects. Order your fresh, convenient form juice powder of this amazing vegetable called Ready Beets from GibsonsHealth.com. To buy at wholesale prices, call 800-388-6844 or go to GibsonsHealth.com. Gibson's Healthful Living. Since 1974, over 30,000 healthier customers.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
With Gene and Chris, we have Harry Drew joining us. Ruben Uriarte is going to be on just a little bit later. Now, Harry is known very much because of the Kingman UFO crashes. We're talking about Kingman, Arizona, and as Chris mentioned in our previous segment, Kingman, Arizona has been the site of lots of interesting paranormal events. But let's just start with the UFO crashes. And we hear, of course, about Roswell and to a lesser degree about Aztec. Harry Drew, tell us, why should we be interested in the possibility of a crash at Kingman, Arizona? Tell us more.
I think probably well, I need to give you a little explanation here, but the number one reason to be interested in the Kingman UFO crashes, plural, is that I have found the sites. And a former museum director and curator of history, archaeology, and anthropology, a historian with published books going back 40 years, and using the methodology and professional protocol that is required of my profession. I did that in regard to the Kingman crash story beginning in 2006. I live near Kingman, and so it's like common knowledge to the older set that are here. And so I began the process of looking at some of the things online and quickly determined what I label as exaggerators and the various stories about it. And I had to go to places where you can really get hard, reliable data, museums, research libraries, Bureau of Land Management, USGS, different places where I could start gathering documentation dating back to 1856 and walk it forward, because I needed to know simple things that everyone that does real research needs to know about an area, as far as what roads actually existed in 1953, and then take the mindset of how things are in 1953. This is retro, and it's very important from the sense that all of the UFO stories seem to come from, and the incidents date back to 1947 with the Roswell crash. And if we don't understand the validity and the evidence that's involved in early crashes, it's going to be an extreme challenge to try to make sense of anything happening now. And technology changed, and as it changed, people's thinking about what they're going to see or what they're supposed to be able to see in UFOs changes with it. And the very earliest drawings in the previous century of UFOs, which are machines, and to make them look streamlined, they do drawings of those back then showing bridge rivets that were used on what were considered contemporary iron bridges to replace bolts. So,
well, here you bring up a really good point. You bring up a really good point that the technology that's observed by witnesses tend to mirror the level of technology of the time, if not maybe a little ahead of that. So I think your point is well taken, and Paracast listeners are pretty up to speed and pretty sophisticated, I must say, and that's one element that we've been talking about for years now, is the witnesses seem to be painting in details, and they tend to progress and change as the years go by. So that's a really interesting point. I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, it's welcome, but it's just an example of something that I looked at, and you really have to get a grasp of this. And we really have some people out in la land of the internet who profess to be experts on Kingman, and it's just amazing. One of them said, if a UFO crash isn't in the newspaper, like your local newspaper, then it never happened. And if it's not in the paper, that just means that because it's top secret, it never made it in the paper.
Right.
You know, I mean, the reality of it. But anyway, let me jump over to the fact there were very credible witnesses who were on site at the Kingman crash, and who have been demonized, unfortunately, or minimalized at the very least.
Harry, we're going to get into all that. We've got plenty of time to dive in. Let's start back at the beginning. Where do we get our first indication that there was an unusual event, or events, actually, in Kingman? Let's kind of take our first-time listeners, people that aren't up to speed on this particular case, and kind of bring them up to speed quickly. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, picture Mayberry, USA, the old Andy Griffith Show. Okay, and we're talking late 1940s, early into 1953, and Kingman, Arizona, 3,500 people, good people, a lot of hardworking miners involved, but they're out in the hinterland because that's where the mines are. And Kingman was kind of a hub, and it basically had two roads, and ultimately had all the way up to three, sort of 2.5 by 1953. But in 1947, we have Roswell, July 2, very famous. We all know about Roswell. Nobody here in the Southwest knew a thing about Roswell at all. There's no television. They had very poor
Well, there was television, but it wasn't really seen that much in the small towns. It was largely confined to larger cities.
Well, the story was killed the next day by the military denying it was a saucer and et cetera. But it never made it here. But here's the point. 5 days later, July 7th, 1947, two businessmen are flying in a private plane back to the Kingman Municipal Airport because it was no longer a military base. It had stopped being a military base in 45. And they're flying back, and all of a sudden we come under major attack by close, almost ramming, flying discs.
You're saying attack. I need to ask you to hold on. Let's talk about that. Attack, do you mean that these craft actually attacked one of ours?
They didn't. They weren't firing weapons. I'm not implying that, nor is that stated in the documentation. What happened was, and they're talking from air to ground, air to the tower, okay, the civilian tower, and they're scared out of their wits because they're being buzzed at close quarters by multiple UFOs, and they landed safely. And the scenario is, by then, this is Mayberry, 1947, Kingman, Arizona, and the local reporter with a pencil above his ear hears about this, and he's out there to talk to them when they land, and it's almost like they're kissing the ground to be able to get out of the plane because they thought they were going to die, and they were UFOs. Nobody else knows this, okay, because it didn't go out on the AP wire or end up on CNN or any of those things because it didn't exist much.
Well, we have the AP wire, of course, and we have the UPI wire, but we surely didn't have CNN, which is what came out in the 1980s. This is a time where a lot of events could have happened and not be in the 24/7 news cycle as we are now. We're going to get into more of that in a moment. We have Harry Drew, and we're focusing on reports of UFO crashes in Kingman, Arizona in 1953. This is 6 years after Roswell. Ruben Uriarte is going to join us a little bit later on the show with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
Fate Magazine provides true reports of the strange and unknown. Keep up with the latest on angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, life after death, and much, much more. To receive your free issue of Fate Magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
ASAP what? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Visit GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
Every day, nearly 3,000 families enter into foreclosure and face losing their home. If you're currently behind on your mortgage, you can still avoid foreclosure. You can save your home, but you need to act now. We're Allied State Foreclosure Services. We're experts in saving homes from foreclosure. With just one phone call to us, you can stop the foreclosure process, lower your monthly mortgage payments, and save your home. Call now. The call is free with no obligation. 1-800-597-8843. Call us if you've been threatened with foreclosure, denied loan modification, or missed a payment on your mortgage. If you've been a victim of a predatory loan or are upside down on your mortgage, even if you've lost your job and you're worried about losing your home, don't wait. Call us now and let us help you save your home. You've worked hard to build a life with your family. Let us help you keep your home. Call now before it's too late. 1-800-597-8843. 1-800-597-8843. 1-800-597-8843.
Here it is, another election year. And here you are again, wishing you knew more about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the other amendments, and the Declaration of Independence. But who has the time to study? Wouldn't it be nice if you could simply listen to them? And wouldn't it be great if they came packaged with an index? Yep, an index that lets you go to any part of the founding documents just by punching in a track number on your computer or CD player. What exactly is the Ninth Amendment? Track 10, play. It's that simple. The Founding Documents Collection on audio CD. To get yours now, just go to Amazon.com and type in Founding Documents Collection, CD. For just $19.95 and $3.99 shipping and handling, you'll have the firepower you need to argue from the ultimate facts that form our nation's foundation. Want to be a hero? Get one for you and give another to your local school for Constitution Day. Go to Amazon.com now and type in Founding Documents Collection, CD.
This is Kurt Sutherland, the author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
With Gene and Chris, our guests are Harry Drew and Ruben Uriarte, who will be speaking with us momentarily. He is, by the way, talking to us from his car, but he assures us it's safe and that he's not doing anything dangerous.
Hey, Gene, he's a California driver, so
on the other hand,
comes with the territory.
Well, there you go. If you're a California
I think it's illegal,
driver,
actually, but we won't tell.
We're not saying anything. He's probably doing hands-free. So that's it. He's not really holding that cell phone in his hand. So, Harry, you and I were basically engaged in putting together the early information about the Kingman crash and painting a picture of what the United States was like then, because we're talking about Mayberry, USA, traditional small-town America. We didn't have the 24/7 communications that we have today. You know, we had TV, but not quite as much. We had Captain Video on TV if you wanted to see science fiction. This is 2 years after The Day the Earth Stood Still came out. We didn't have 24/7 cable. We didn't have FM radio. It was still, in testing. Does that kind of cover it right there, Harry?
It does. I said AP, and I
had UPI.
I'm used to, because of my research, they called it Associated Press.
Right.
So they didn't bother the acronym. I will tell you this, that the entire story of the two pilots of the bus was on the front page of the Kingman Daily minor newspaper, which will be about 130 years old this year or next. And the following day in Prescott, Arizona, within 100 miles of Kingman, there were a swarm of flying discs seen, and then an interesting thing from Associated Press that said tabulators had figured, after checking with all the 48 states at the time, that 41 of the states out of 48 states were already being buzzed by UFOs, flying discs. And more importantly to me, this being about 5 or 6 days, away from Roswell, an official spokesman for the Army Air Force in Washington admitted to flying saucers and indicated that they lacked sufficient equipment to blanket the nation to protect us. How's that? I've never heard of that before, and I'm holding it in my hand, and okay, so that's the stage of 1947. When we move up to 1953, the military has been gone for 8 years. There's no presence here other than 3 separate radar systems set up, and there's experimentation going on with engineers to try to develop a bigger and more powerful range until the new radar systems coming out of 1955 will be there. And so they're overdriving the radar. And my consulting engineer, who, by the way, designed the flight control system that was used and was with James Kingman 6 months ago, and he's been out to the sites with me and examined some physical evidence and everything I have. But he did computations in regard to the radar here. It figures in very importantly. And what they were trying to do is increase the range to about 150 miles. Normal range, 25 miles. You want 50, you double. They were trying to run systems overdriven by about 24 times.
We're getting too technical here. Overdriving a system means that basically you're taking equipment and running it way beyond its design limits.
And it was killing birds in flight. Locals complained because birds were being shot out of the air by high-energy microwave radiation.
Are you suggesting, Harry, that it's these super active radar units that possibly were responsible for bringing down craft?
The Air Force thought that enough that they wrote it down in internal communication.
Wow.
And the question
you say,
was,
Harry, excuse me, Harry.
Yeah.
You said internal communication. Is this something you have a copy of?
That particular letter you can find quite easily on I think it's on the cover jacket of one of Dr. Greer's books. Everybody knows about this.
Right.
But if why they went down was why it was because of the radar. And what happened in here was this is on a flyway for UFOs. It still is a flyway for UFOs. We have UFOs here still. And one morning, all these stations which were set up in a triangular layout, okay, they turned on the radar and here came the next UFO, and whatever it did to what was described to me by a living witness who was one of the Air Force recovery team who were flown here, and they basically flew right into this net or triangular frequency, and it caused some kind of problem. And the first one went down on the 18th of May. It landed. It did not crash. And for those people who don't believe in the Kingman crash and who believe in the Area 51 UFO reverse engineering project, I have to tell you that the UFO at Area 51 and S4 everyone has talked about and was being reverse engineered is the Kingman UFO craft.
Okay, now we're adding a lot of details here, It's not just a simple thing because we now have several different factors here that we have to contend with. One, we have a crash of a UFO. Then we have it going to Area 51, which we would certainly want to see how you support that when we get to that.
No, okay. Gene, he said it landed. It didn't crash.
Okay, so it landed. It didn't crash.
It landed. That's correct.
So it landed, but it stayed there, is what you're saying. Did it take off, or did it stay there?
No, it didn't take off. There was a team. There was a team assembled, 15 specialists from who basically were working on upshot, knothole at Frenchman Flat, Nevada, bomb testing going on. A doctor ahead of the project sent one of these specialists who became a witness to this and made statements to the researcher Raymond Fowler. The man's name was Arthur Stansel, and he had a degree in physics and mathematics and engineering, and he really was into highly top secret work. And he met with a bus at Phoenix after being flown from Indian Hills Air Force Base, and they were bussed out to the site near Kingman. They arrived in the dark, and there it sat, and it didn't have a scratch on it. The crew had been picked up by the Advanced Air Force Recovery Team and immediately sent on to Groom Lake.
Okay, now I need to ask you a lot of questions here because there are several thousand considerations.
Wait a minute, they were sent to Groom Lake in 1953?
I had a living witness, a now deceased, a retired full-bird U.S. Air Force colonel and test pilot in the United States Air Force who was on 6 recoveries. This was one of them. And he said to me, to my face, don't you let anybody try to tell you that they were taking the right Patterson, because they were not. They were taken straight up to Groom Lake. Groom Lake, the facility that was at Groom Lake was a former Army Air Force base, and it was handed off to Edwards as an annex for the experimental work that was going on with Edwards. And it became, as we know, Area 51. And
okay, so this was not Area 51. Excuse me, we're going ahead of ourselves here. This was not Area 51 at this particular point in time.
No, it's Groom Lake. It's a retired Air Force military base that was handed off to Edwards. Edwards didn't sit around on their laurels. They began doing stuff with the base immediately, and then they got major funding in 1955. You can check it out. It's a congressional fact. The money was handed down to the military to upgrade, and new radar systems were done. The radar, the 3 that were here in 53 were removed in 1955, and a massive, almost like a backscatter came in. That from that is still here. Okay, I mean, you can see it. You can drive right down Old Town Kingman, and it's right there, and it had to have cooked or gave a lot of people cancer and all kinds of problems, because it's right smack in the middle of the old town.
Well, now I understand here we're really going far afield. I want to get back to the core case, because we've added lots of details here, and we first have to see, obviously, that this landed but didn't take off again, so maybe it's not a crash, but it could be a crash landing that damaged the craft. We have to ask a lot more questions. Harry Drew.
It didn't.
I need to do the break.
It didn't.
I need to. Harry Drew, Ruben Uriarte, joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo Tote Bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children. Stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
That's what it sounds like when a burglar kicks in the door of a dark house that looks like no one is home. Don't let your home be the next target. Make it look like someone is home watching television with Fake TV. Fake TV is a small electronic device that makes the same light as a real television. So from outside, it looks like someone is home watching TV. Fake TV plugs in just like a lamp on a timer, but is far more convincing to burglars. Fake TV deters burglars, costs far less than an alarm, and is highly recommended by numerous police departments. Use it anytime you're away from home. To order your Fake TV for only $34.95, go to faketv.com or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. Each additional Fake TV is only $29.95. So get one for you and one for a loved one, for safety, security, and peace of mind for both of you. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. faketv.com, the burglar deterrent.
For centuries, silver has been used as a powerful natural antibiotic, and as a listener to this station, you probably already know the benefits of using colloidal silver. With so many websites to choose from, finding a reputable, patriotic company with great products at affordable prices can be a difficult task. Introducing UtopiaSilver.com. UtopiaSilver.com carries the best, most effective, and most affordable colloidal silver and colloidal gold products in the industry. UtopiaSilver.com also carries products to fit fit your lifestyle, including weight loss, immune system defense, cleanses, herbs, joint and bone care, and much more. First-time customers using promo code GCN50 will receive 50% off all colloidal products. Visit us today at Utopia Silver, that's UTOPIA Silver, utopiasilver.com, or call 888-213-4338. That's 888-213-4338. utopiasilver.com, taking back America's healthcare one American at a time.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned in to the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
We have Ruben Uriarte, who will be speaking in a few moments, speaking from his motor vehicle safely, we understand. We have Harry Drew, and we're focusing with Gene and Chris on the Paracast on the report of a UFO landing at Kingman. Now, you're saying here it didn't crash, Harry, but it didn't take off, which I guess is unusual. You kind of think if this craft just landed, why didn't it take off again if it wasn't damaged?
Yeah, it was disabled.
Okay, so it's a crash landing.
What, I want to find out what about this recovery team? I mean, how many entities were aboard? How was the I guess put into custody scenario played out? I mean, I'm a little confused on those details too.
Harry,
somebody, yeah, Harry, I'm talking to you, man. You said that the pilots were taken into some sort of custody, right?
Yep. All right. Absolutely. The crew, the description of the crew is interesting as well. The crew was actually outside the craft. The craft did not crash. The craft went a few miles before whatever was wrong with it caused it to descend, and they made a landing in an area that the specialist that came there along with 40 scientists to look at later, and he didn't see the aliens, but the craft was described as basically at a slight tilt. I have drawings of the craft from the time.
Harry, are we talking about local eyewitnesses, or are we talking about official?
There were 12 local eyewitnesses to this, and there were as many as 15 local witnesses, including the rancher Leonard Neal, who saw the Red Lake vehicle come down 4 days later. That one crashed. It ricocheted off the top of a butte.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the initial event.
All right. There was no military presence here other than radar operators and some engineers. They couldn't do anything about it. They knew the thing went down, but there was nothing. So the advance team came. They immediately got.
How long did it take? Secret. How long did it take them to be notified and arrive on site?
About the time the craft hit the ground, they were already assembling. All right, and they had to fly. It took them about 2 hours to get to Kingman. They trucked straight out.
So within 2 hours of that thing alighting on the ground, the government, the military was present on site.
Their response time was very fast. There were already military police en route, and they cordoned off and set a perimeter there before the sun set on the 18th of May. It did not happen at night. Then they started quickly trying to determine where they could get equipment to recover the craft and get it out of there. It was very special because it was whole. It wasn't damaged. The crew left and was taken to Green Lake. That's outside of the periphery of what I'm trying to check into. You know, how long they were there, where they went after, I don't know. I didn't investigate it. I'm trying to find out about what
Harry,
happened
how much do we
here.
know about the actual apprehension scenario that went on between military personnel and the crew of the craft? I mean, what do we know about that particular chain of events?
I know the physical description. I know that there was a verbal in English conversation with one who seemed to represent the other three. It wasn't telepathic. It was just talking.
So you're saying one of the three crew members from this craft were able to speak and understand English?
Based on the information supplied to me by Colonel, retired and now deceased Colonel Wendell Stevens, who was amongst the recovery team, and who was still awed by the fact when he told me about this during an interview, his first reaction was their description, and it was they were human. That's how he described them. And he said they were about...
Did they have German accents?
To me. Huh?
Did they have German accents? Like, what do you do with your radar?
Hey, listen, not that he told me, okay? And everyone that I interview, as a historian, everyone needs to understand, and it'll be in the book where you can see it, and it's hidden in plain sight, the Kingman UFO crashes, is that when I do an interview with humans that are alive, our people here and now, it's as told to me. So if they have a perspective that is different than I might have, they're going to share that. And that's what I'm conveying to you. These aren't my words. They are his words.
I understand that, Harry, but you've given a lot of ammunition to the man-made UFO enthusiasts that read books by Joseph Farrell.
Yeah. The difference was their eyes were set slightly further apart, but not the large things we typically see in illustrations, which doesn't mean that those extraterrestrials don't exist. And further, that they had the lower part of their face was more heart-shaped or more pointed down by the chin. I can tell you of a third crash only in the sense that, because I don't want to jump past a whole bunch of things here, that the newspaper saw two of that crew, and they're described on the front page of the newspaper as two strange-looking men. Okay? This is for real, and it's even in the newspaper.
Go to any club in any city, and I'll find you two strange-looking men.
You got it. That's correct.
And maybe it's one of them. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, not when they have a disc that flew into the mountain and set it on fire, and it got everybody upset. Okay? A third one came down and hit the north face of the Wallapai Mountain and set it on fire. And the story about that, which we'll never have time to talk about, is amazing because of what happened after they were taken to the sheriff. So anyway, the first craft was a problem for the Air Force to recover. It just so happens Camp Irwin changed its designation from infantry to armor. That is over by Barstow, California, a direct route on 66, Highway 66 to Kingman. And the first thing that happens, an M25 tank transporter comes zipping through Little Kingman the following day. That caused the sheriff and the undersheriff to go out to the area, the only road from Phoenix, okay? And it was only graded sand.
Let me just clarify something here, okay, Harry, before we go on. I need to clarify something. Okay.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned one of your sources is, of course, Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens, who is also known in the UFO field as someone who was actively involved in UFO research. Who else can you name as a source for this information?
Say it again.
Who else other than Lieutenant Colonel Stevens?
Sure,
Who else?
Arthur Stancil. Arthur Stancil, who had a degree in physics. He worked at Wright-Patterson 12 years before the Air Force transferred him to Operation Upshot Knothole, the atomic bomb blast tests at Frenchman Flat, Nevada.
Now, he was also a participant here. He was involved in the recovery.
And there was a 65-page report taken from him.
Yeah, Harry, he was involved in the recovery.
Pardon? Bill Uhouse, and then relatives of Leonard Neal, cousins of Leonard Neal, including the aviation historian and museum curator of the Kingman Army Air Force Museum.
And you're saying basically that every one of these people was involved in this recovery?
I'm telling you that two of them were on site. That was Arthur Stancil. His alias was Fritz Werner. When the report was done with him by the esteemed and well-respected researcher Raymond Fowler and Wendell Stevens, who these men independently gave their version without benefit of having communicated with anyone else. I also have testimony from the Reverend Short, who spoke with a doctor, a PhD out of Tucson, who was awakened in the middle of the night and transported up here to examine this, and he was connected with and had access to Project Blue Book.
Okay, and we'll get into more of this in just a moment. We have Harry Drew. We'll be hearing shortly from Ruben Uriarte with Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Healthy soils grow healthy plants. So before you plant your survival garden this year, is your soil healthy? Maximize your crisis garden soil with EM1 from Terraganics. EM1 Organic Soil Conditioner, Fertilizer Amendment, and Compost Accelerant provides healthier gardens and faster, efficient garden composting. EM1 from Terraganics.com quickly improves soil structure by increasing nutrient availability and converting organic matter into soil humus. This improves seed germination and root growth, improves plant quality, size, color, flavor, nutrient value of fruits and vegetables, and improves shelf life. And when rain is not in the forecast, no worries. EM1 improves moisture retention in soils, helping reduce drought stress. Just like you prepare all else, prepare your crisis garden for maximum yields with EM1 from Terraganics.com. Order now at TERAGANIX.com or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Terraganics. Life's getting better.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, we have Ruben Uriarte and Harry Drew, and we are talking today, at least we started talking, about the unusual happenings in Kingman, Arizona. about UFO crashes, but not necessarily crashes, but landings.
Got them both, Gene.
Yeah. Well, we start off with a landing, and we'll get into the crashing in a few moments. Ruben, can you tell us about this event that's coming up? And this is going to be just a few days after our folks hear this episode, which is being broadcast on September 9th. Ruben.
Hope you can hear me. In fact, I'm almost at my destination. I'm going to pull over, so that way I won't have to worry about driving too much here. Basically, we're having the first annual UFO Con, which is going to be held at the Marriott Hotel in Santa Clara on Friday, which is September 14th, and then the actual conference itself is September 15th and 16th. We're going to have a number of great speakers, and I'm looking forward to listening to Christopher O'Brien and also Mr. Harry Drew. I'm very interested in the crash retrieval research because both my co-author, Noe Torres, and I have been working on a number of cases, primarily dealing with crash retrievals along the southwest U.S. and Mexican border. Now, I also will be talking briefly about MUFON. I'm the state director for Northern California. I'm also the deputy director of investigations for international affairs. It's a title that I work very closely with our international chapter.
Sounds like quite an event. We'll look forward to seeing all these great guests. Of course, Chris will be there, and he'll be reporting back the following week on the Paracast.
Yeah, I've got my trickster hat on, Gene.
Oh, boy. Going to be fascinating then. Okay, Harry Drew, we were talking about the early events and the people who were present on site. Now, this first was a landing but not a crash, but obviously something was damaged because it couldn't take off again, or it made no effort to take off again.
I think it was just incapable of, because I can't tell you what was wrong with it, but it sounded like from the distance it was able to continue on after having going through this triangular configuration of modulating overpowered high, who knows, they had no idea what they were doing, and so they wouldn't know how powerful the emissions were, that these scout craft, which are not interplanetary vehicles, according to what I'm being told about, as far as they come from some other place, or mothercraft, or they come from a base, and that's pretty much the sense of the whole thing. They came from a base.
So in other words, they fly big Rolls Royces to the star system here, and then they dispatch Yugos that could be brought down by radar. That's one of the things about these early crash retrieval, potential cases being ascribed to dysfunctionality based on some sort of radar frequency. You would think some civilization coming light years to this planet.
I've heard that argument. Yep. I've heard the same argument, and I can only answer it this way. That's the way we think. And I'm telling you what has happened here, and because I have found the sites, and they are as they were the day the Air Force left. I'm the last, they're the last one there. I'm the next person.
Okay, all right, you said, Harry, as they were when the Air Force left. So we're going back to 1953, okay? So we're talking about 59 years ago as we do this show.
Correct.
This is unchanged. This is out in the field somewhere? Is it this location? Wouldn't people have visited the area over the years to look at this place where a UFO landed?
I've stood where it landed. Hey, have you flown on a jet airplane, commercial jet?
A number of times, yes.
Okay, have you ever heard any warnings from the crew saying turn off your laptops, turn off your cell phones?
Right, but you know what? I want to tell you something.
All right.
Right. Nowadays, Harry, there are more and more. I know, but I need to finish this, Harry. There are more and more reports that the airlines are considering allowing people to use their mobile equipment. And you know why? Because they really don't cause any damage. It's more of a fear than a reality. In fact, a lot of these days, a lot of pilots,
just confirmed that there is interference, even in the shielding along the fuselage they have installed.
Well, you know what? If you look at current reports, airlines are seriously considering this. It's also reported that a lot of pilots are using iPads.
Yeah, I just flew back from Cincinnati. I was one of the principal speakers at the International Lutheran Symposium, and they make you shut everything down on those planes.
Yes, they do, but nowadays, excuse me, Harry,
if
nowadays, Harry, we can't have a conversation if you keep, Harry, you got to let me speak, okay? We can't have a conversation if you're going to keep talking over me. Okay.
Yeah,
I understand your point, but the point is that, and you can look it up yourself, that more and more airlines are testing, allowing people to use their cell phones, use their mobile devices, even during the landing process. Use stuff like an iPad or a Nexus 7 or something. So this is not unusual. And as a matter of fact, they're coming to the conclusion that Wi-Fi doesn't hurt.
We're getting bogged down in some minutiae here. Perhaps their technology was not aware, for some reason, of the adverse effects of radar on their inertial navigation or propulsion systems.
Maybe so, but you kind of think
sat down.
You kind of think, Chris, that that a race this advanced, able to come up with technology that allows them to travel what? Through dimensions,
I know the argument.
Whatever. We know the argument.
Suspending disbelief and trying to cut to the chase with Harry here.
Okay, let's suspend our disbelief. Our disbelief is suspended.
Events to cover here.
And I'll take off my suspenders just to prove it. Go ahead.
The bottom line, this was resolved relatively fast because the UFO crashes stopped. And it's reminiscent to the fact that when we have aviation problems, it's examined very rapidly to determine the cause so we can stop, like the osprey from falling out of the sky or something like that. And so it kind of fits. And a 737 flying into this, something that was so severely energized that it would kill birds in flight, living beings, could possibly affect the avionics, or who knows. And so I don't know that something happened that caused this craft to go down. They had to bring equipment in from Nellis Air Force Base and from Camp Irwin. And the sheriff and undersheriff went out the following day and spent 15 minutes trying to get past military police and were refused.
This is all really interesting. This is the good stuff here.
The point is that let's just admit that it is speculative to think that these craft might have been brought down by radar. We can guess that. We don't know if it's true. It's a possibility. Let's just leave it as a possibility because it may be totally other causes. It might be that this craft is built by the lowest bidder on this other planet and something broke. That happens.
Yeah, I like the interstellar ego. I like that concept.
Yeah, something out of clear blue affected the flight capabilities of these craft. The other one, the recovery ultimately actually transpired over a 5-day period because there was nothing here to do it with. And they brought the scientists out on a General Motors 3303 military bus that had been dispatched from Camp Irwin, and they picked them up at Phoenix to take them up to the north. If you're at the mountain, it's on the northeast lower foot of the mountain where the desert meets the mountain, and on the only road that existed then. And, the craft was off the road. It wasn't on the road, but they took the bus up the only road there was. And a report about what transpired and what was seen was given to Raymond Fowler in an interview in May 1973, 20 years afterwards. And it's very descriptive and very accurate. And part of the problem I found is there's been a lot of nobody paying attention to some of the witness statements that were already made. But the difference is I'm where I can devote time to spend literally years going up. It was 448 square miles of desert and mountain terrain here, and I got it narrowed down really fast by Colonel Stevens.
I understand that. Let's get on with more of this in a moment. We have Harry Drew. We have Ruben Uriarte with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, you've seen all those crazy, wacky products on TV. The perfect tortilla, easy covers, hot booties, furniture fix, petty spin, and more. Where do you find all that stuff? you go to asseenontv.com, because this is the one-stop source for all of these TV goods advertised. Find all your favorites as seen on TV. Check them out as seenontv.com. And by the way, save 10%. Here's what you do. Use the code SEEN1, S-E-E-N number 1, SEEN1. Go to asseenontv.com to order. Save 10%. Purchase this summer's hottest As Seen on TV items. Save 10%. Or call 1-866-277-3366. 1-866-277-3366. The code SEEN1 to save 10%.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Healthy soils grow healthy plants. So before you plant your survival garden this year, is your soil healthy? Maximize your crisis garden soil with EM1 from TerraGanix. EM1 Organic Soil Conditioner, Fertilizer Amendment, and Compost Accelerant provides healthier gardens and faster, efficient garden composting. EM1 from TerraGanix.com quickly improves soil structure by increasing nutrient availability and converting organic matter into soil humus. This improves seed germination and root growth, improves plant quality, size, color, flavor, nutrient value of fruits and vegetables, and improves shelf life. And when rain is not in the forecast, no worries. EM1 improves moisture retention in soils, helping reduce drought stress. Just like you prepare all else, prepare your crisis garden for maximum yields with EM1 from TerraGanix.com. Order now at TerraGanix.com or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. TerraGanix. Life's getting better.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
We have Harry Drew, who has investigated for many years UFO crashes and landings in Kingman, Arizona. And what makes this all the more interesting is that the details you're providing, Harry, are far more descriptive than anything we know about Roswell. I mean, other than the crash and some basic stuff, a lot of the other stuff is very, very highly speculative. But you're giving us all sorts of inner details about the recovery operation.
Yeah,
where
he said
it went.
it was a 5-day recovery process. This is all news to me. Harry, you've grabbed the old bull by the horns here. There should be tons of documentation. I know you've dug up a lot of witnesses, and we do have a pretty compelling story here. But what actually do we have in terms of government documentation about this?
I have, you say government? Are you saying secret documents? I would never admit to having secret documents if I had them.
No, I think what Chris said was government documents. Government documents.
Yeah.
They don't have to be necessarily secret.
I have interviews with people who forbid the use of their name for real reasons, and I in fact went to someone who doesn't want his name used, but I can give away where it is. In regard to the third one on the 24th of May, I went to the head of security for the County Court of Mojave and described an area where these two strange-looking men were taken. And I'm leapfrogging ahead, but he took me through. This is an off limits. Nobody can go there for decades. And he took me through all the security checkpoints and walked me right up to the very things that I described to him. Let's go to the Red Lake crash. After what I call the Hualapai, Hualapai mountain, Kingman Hualapai mountain crash on 18 May 1953, the military finally were able to get the craft loaded onto an M25 trailer with great difficulty and get it out of here over the night of the 22nd. Prior to that, the scientists came, it was still the 21st of May, and an interesting thing happened 5-minute flight time away from them. The same morning of the day that the scientists and the bus came, 8 UFOs were seen for over an hour by a 20-year military pilot, by a pilot who was contracted by the United States Air Force to train pilots at 3 airfields in the state of Arizona, and a sports editor from the newspaper in Prescott, Arizona. 5-minute flight time away from the downed,
so it was what, like a search party?
Craft.
Like a search party was in the area?
No, they had gone out to check where some fish had been planted for a fishing derby for youth. And they were out there just by happenstance and saw a craft. And here's the interesting thing about that. 2 of the crafts were hovering, one on one side and one on the other side, and the 6 other UFOs were doing what were described by both pilots as military-style dogfight maneuvers. 5 minutes away from where the downed craft was sitting.
Oh, man. The trickster tips his hat again.
I not only have their names and dates, it was covered in the paper. I have everything, all the way to their OBs, and this is something that they saw. And it makes me wonder, I'm not allowed to tell anybody anything that I don't really know, but I am allowed a little room to speculate. And if I see 6 crafts doing dogfight maneuvers and 2 sitting in what would be like guard positions 5 minutes away from where the Air Force has got a craft of theirs on the ground, I would think maybe they're thinking about going after it and get it. I don't know.
Yeah, and they were getting themselves all pumped up to prepare themselves for the sabers that were coming after them. Ruben, you've done quite an extensive job researching and investigating Mexican Roswell, as the title of one of your books. Does this type of scenario sound familiar to you based on your investigations on the other crashes?
Yes, in fact, I'm real fascinated with Harry's presentation, and I'm looking forward to listening to his presentation at the conference. The research that both Noah Torres and I have been working on has dealt with crash retrievals in the Southwest. We have one that happened near Laredo, Texas, but on the Mexican side of the border, that happened in 1948. Supposedly, there were 2 jet interceptors called F-80s who supposedly had shot down a UFO. And this document came out or was mentioned in the actual MJ documents. there's a lot to that story. And then we also investigated another UFO crash that also occurred on the Mexican side of the border near Langtree, Texas, where in 1955 we had the testimony of a jet fighter pilot, an F-86 fighter pilot at the time. He flew, they were flying escort for B-47 bombers, and this object appeared over their flight formation, and he followed the object. He had permission, and he saw the object crash on the opposite side of the on the other side of the border. So we have his testimony, and that's what we call that book, The Other Roswell. I need to go back to the first case that I shared with you, the 1948 crash. When we done some research, we actually wrote a book. Actually, Noe had presented this at the Laredo UFO Festival, and the title of that book is called Fallen Angel. But we're starting to see a pattern here, Christopher, and as listening to Harry about the crash retrieval teams that are sent out immediately, and then the cover-up that takes place. Then, of course, is the Mexico's Roswell that we were involved in, of an object that collided with a small airplane over the desert of Chihuahua, Mexico, in a little area known as Coyame. And basically that was an object that collided with an airplane, and the Mexican soldiers went to retrieve the airplane. They found the disc. But these guys all the soldiers were exposed to something. They all died at the scene, and they were being watched by U.S. surveillance, which resulted in helicopters leaving out of Fort Bliss and went to the crash site. They retrieved the saucer, took it back to the U.S.
Close to the zone of silence is this, that confluence point between Tabasco, Chihuahua, and Sonora.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of crazy anomalous areas. I mean, the zone of silence, that's Mexico's Bermuda Triangle.
We'll have to go into what that means and what is going to signify in a moment. With Ruben Uriarte and with Harry Drew, with Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
ASAP what? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Visit GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now I can help you reduce or eliminate your tax debts and end your tax nightmare. Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce and eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay, and after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. And with the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
September is National Preparedness Month, or as we like to call it, Prep-tember. So cash in on Prep-tember savings at BePrepared.com. Going on now, save 21% on freeze-dried mozzarella cheese. Save 25% on 5 of Mountain House's most popular freeze-dried meals. Save 30% and learn how to make bread from scratch with the Wheat Cooking Starter Kit. Save 36% on the new LRP Entree Combo. And save a whopping 46% when you buy 10 or more packages of MRE peanut butter. All at BePrepared.com. Plus, new for Prep-tember, freeze-dried yogurt bites in 5 delicious flavors. And Provident Pantry non-fat dry milk is specially priced this month. As always, check out the Emergency Essentials group specials during the Prep-tember sale, now through September 30th. Call 800-999-1863 for exceptional customer service and BePrepared.com's low price guarantee. That's 800-999-1863. The choice is clear. Be unprepared or BePrepared.com.
This is Hilly Rose, and I hope that you do listen to the Paracast because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
The zone of silence. Some people who listen to the show would prefer that Chris and I engage in silence, and we are silent when we have people like Ruben Uriarte and Harry Drew on hand to handle the heavy
Harry,
lifting.
man, you've really jazzed me on the Kingman case. I really don't know that much about it. I really am looking forward to speaking with you about it, and also the same, Ruben. I think it's really important work you guys are doing. Obviously, Harry, you have really spent the time in the archives. You've done your digging. You've got your research down, and really, my hat's off to you to your efforts, and you too, Ruben and Noe.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ruben has left the building.
I'm right here. Do you hear me now?
Well, Harry, I mean, I'm sorry I interrupted. We wanted to get Ruben in here. We've been dodging traffic lights and dead spots, trying to keep Ruben on the line. I wanted to include him. You guys are both, like I said, doing really good work. And the Kingman crash, though, is a standalone event. We do have a number of eyewitnesses. You've been able to land some really good sources. Wendell Stevens, we could have a whole show just on Wendell. But in terms of the actual events that you're describing, this could be a real dark horse case, I think, in the annals of crash retrievals. Why don't you talk further about the Hualapai Mountain event, and you were in the midst of describing the recovery process there. Why don't you continue?
All right, thank you. I've really enjoyed listening to Ruben, and he hit on something that I had suggested before, that some of these early crashes. And my consulting engineer, who I mentioned to you before, said he didn't know if it was an experimental craft or a UFO really there when he went with me to do drone flights, so I could get like 6 camera position angles to be able to look at the ground at 10 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, and 300 feet, so I could really see what I need to see. And he said whatever it was, the government swept it under the rug. And it's really obvious where the craft was sitting. I don't know why, can't tell you why, but the normal background radiation there is 5 times higher than like if you walk 50, 60 feet away from where it was really sitting. And it wasn't damaged, so I don't know, maybe it's sewage from the craft. How would I know? But for some reason, it wasn't damaged. They had problems. It was sitting at an angle, and they had problems trying to get it up on the M25 trailer, which was built for tanks. And Bill Uhouse, who is deceased, talked about the same craft because he stated he saw the craft when it got to Groom Lake. And that's where the reverse engineering story came from, and then the birth of what we would call Area 51, at least in the stories. I did not research all of that. That's any more than when Wendell handed off the crew. They didn't have a need to know about anything else that was allowed or gone on with the crew. You just cut off from the information. So they went to load the UFO, and they belted it up with a boom to swing it over onto the trailer, and it would not move. They could lift it up, but they couldn't swing it. Now, this is from the late Colonel Stevens. They had to back the trailer, an M25 tank transporter trailer, underneath it and set it down, and they were afraid that it wasn't going to move from there. This is after they overcame the problem of a tone from the craft that was causing them to have headaches and throw up.
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about actual weight, or are we talking about some gravitational field effect?
The craft remained at a tilt. Okay, when they set it down on the trailer, remember again, as told to me, and I mean, I'm a historian. I have to take what I'm told, and then I have to present that in a way everyone understands as told to me.
Let me make sure, Harry, I understand. When they put that craft down on the trailer, it remained in the air at a tilt.
It sat like it was sitting on the ground, and I did soil porosity tests there to determine why it was 20 inches in the ground. The engineer that was on site that night, given 15 to 20 minutes only to inspect the craft, was told he was to determine the rate of fall and the forward speed at the time of impact with the ground. And he came up with a number like 20 FPS, 20 feet per second rate of fall. Well, you can take a spoon and hold it in your hand straight out and drop it, and it immediately goes to 32 feet per second.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. He said that in his report. This doesn't make sense because this thing should have been ripped to pieces from the forward speed, but the fall rate is below what's natural. And so it had some kind of propulsion or something, and maybe a stability
problem. Now, this is all according to
Wendell?
Do we have any documentation to establish these facts?
This is taken from the report taken by Raymond Fowler in an interview with the specialist. He in turn
Okay. So this is Ray's work. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if this is Wendell's description of the scene.
No, it's Arthur Stencil.
Okay. Oh, I understand. All right. I'm sorry.
Okay,
continue.
who was, and just think, physicist and all of that stuff. Anyway, the craft was loaded onto the trailer, and it didn't settle all the way down like gravity would normally make something just lay flat. So they propped it up for sure it would fall when they started to move, and they took it out of here. I know the direction it went, and the Corps the engineers had a barge ready, and they put it on a barge above the dam up on the Colorado, and took it from there straight up, to Groom Lake. If you've been up that direction, it's incredibly easy to do it that way. And if you've got somebody there with a barge,
it's a straight shot from Kingman right up to Hoover Dam. Gene, have you ever heard of that type of gravitational effect ever in a recovery operation? That's really amazing.
That's very unusual. I think part of the thing is we don't hear of anything in so-called recovery effects more than just putting a craft on a truck or a trailer or something and taking it off. This almost sounds like the scene in the movie Independence Day, where without the tethers, the craft would float at Area 51. Remember that scene?
Yeah. It's funny how art imitates life, right?
Huh?
Well, maybe the people who wrote the script for Independence Day heard about Kingman.
Oh, yes. Right. So anyway...
So continue, we're all ears, Harry. Yeah. This is great. This is good stuff. I can't wait to talk to you later about it.
Okay. Area 50, you want to hear about the red light crash so everybody knows it's in Kingman, Arizona? Everybody seems to think it's the one over in New Mexico. And there probably is one in New Mexico. The red light crash occurred 4 days later on the 22nd, and the other craft already was gone. And it was handy because the recovery team, part of the recovery team was still here. And the other one came down. It had the same kind of a problem going from north to south. That was the flight path of both crafts. Actually, all three crafts, because there's three. And it clipped the top of a butte. And an aviation historian and museum curator told me about it, that it went down at Food Tank, and there was someone connected who counseled people that work at Area 51. Okay, that was his job. And so just kind of like on the QT said, it was at Food Tank. That's a word in Arizona for a dirt dam with a reservoir behind it of water for livestock and wildlife. And he found Food Tank on the map and then found it on the ground. And I went with him out there, and he had found nothing. And I did the same thing with my consulting engineer. We did drone flights in the area, and I got to see it in a way they can't see. And I found the impact scar where it ricocheted off the butte, overshot the reservoir, and crashed on the other bank. And then
we'll get into more of the crash at Kingman that Harry Drew is referring to.
Yeah.
We have Ruben Uriarte joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Whether it's personal mail, whether it's business email, you want reliable, dependable delivery, freedom from spam, freedom from viruses. Well, Polaris Mail offers professional email hosting services for your personal or small business use. Each account uses 25 gigabytes of storage, an easy-to-use webmail interface, and full mobile sync. Sign up today for a 30-day free trial at polarismail.com, polarismail.com. So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
What do you do when your propane runs out and you don't have a large amount of wood for cooking? That's when you need a Grover rocket stove from StockStorage.com. The Grover rocket stove starts easily with any combustible material like junk mail, small twigs, leaves, weeds, or dry sagebrush. Then just add a small amount of kindling wood and you'll be cooking entire meals in minutes. Grover rocket stoves are made right here in the USA and are built to last a lifetime using heavy-duty thick-gauge steel and are painted with high-temp paint to withstand heat. Go to StockStorage.com and see 3 great Grover rocket stoves, stainless steel, heavy-duty, or our original Grover rocket stove for only $135 and get free shipping to the lower 48. For phone orders, call 801-361-6984 or go to StockStorage.com. That's 801-361-6984 or StockStorage.com. The original Grover rocket stove minimal wood use cooking stoves, available exclusively from StockStorage.com.
That's the sound of your door being kicked in by an intruder with a single kick. That's the sound of the same door now protected by the Door Sentinel at MySafeDoor.com. Go to MySafeDoor.com right now and watch the amazing video. At MySafeDoor.com, you'll learn how to turn your home into a fortress with the Door Sentinel. 16 kicks later, and the Door Sentinel is still holding strong. MySafeDoor.com. That's MySafeDoor.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganix.com, spelled TerraGanix.com, Terraganix.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
Hi, this is Ted Phillips, listening to the Paracast, and it's as good as it gets, believe me.
We have Harry Drew, who has been many years studying the crashes over at Kingman, Arizona. Ruben Uriarte joining us with Gene and Chris here in the Paracast, and we were immersed in a very lengthy conversation with Harry. Please continue.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Oh, okay. I can't talk because I'm hearing multiple things going on. Anyway, the Red Lake crash, 19 miles north of Kingman, Arizona. Red Lake is right there. It was right on the southwesterly end of what is called Red Lake. And it overshot a reservoir, Arizona, called Futan. And 2 of the crew survived the crash. 4 of the crew survived. 2 were severely injured, taken to Nellis, and died. Or at least...
Hold on, Harry, hold on before you go any further. How do we know this?
Well, how do I know this? First off, it comes from long since deceased rancher Leonard Neal, who was approached by a convoy of military vehicles who offered to provide them assistance because he, along with most of the family, watched this thing go down. And first thing that happened is the military barked at him to just stay where he is, go in the house and not come out because the military was aware. And Wendell Stevens, once again, was aware of this, and Bill Uhouse was aware of this, and he talks about it in an interview that I have where it crashed along in alignment with what is called the Surbat Mountains, which is exactly where it is. And from the family, and I had this information as late as, now remember, I am not, people that I mention, agencies, are not endorsing my work. They never do that, especially for government. But I had in July, as late as this July, BLM confirmed the fact that not only does the family, which is very large because it was like a cattle baron back from the 1882 and basically took over the area and mostly friendly, and everybody's a cousin, and so it's in-house secret, basically. And the man I was speaking with at BLM is one of them, and the aviation historian is another, and then of course he did, because he's a historian and a curator, he did interviews with his own relatives about the same thing, and they're going, oh yeah, this is this way. It's so common knowledge with the elderly, really older people here. I was stunned. I was doing a stand-up film thing down by the 1910 courthouse on a Sunday to have some quiet, and a gentleman with 2 grandchildren come out of a church next to the building and came over and asked what I was doing, and he said, oh yeah, and he was telling me things I hadn't even heard yet. it was amazing. And so it's like they aren't going to talk, and that's explained in both the first thing that I'm releasing, Hidden in Plain Sight, the Kingman UFO Crashes, which is it's a pre-release ahead of Terminal Approach, the Kingman UFO Crashes, which right now is being considered for some other things beyond just my doing a documentary DVD on it. So, and so I have, 15 witnesses, along with Bill Uhouse, along with the late Colonel Wendell Stevens, and I feel that there's enough information based on that, and the fact, after inspecting in my field work.
Harry, I know that this is going to get confusing, but there's so much minutia here that we have to kind of step back and look at this. Okay, once again, we have the original incident you told us about, which was basically a landing but not a crash, but it seemed that the craft was unable to take off again. And then we have a crash you're telling us about now. How many total incidents are we dealing with in Kingman?
No, he got back. He was beyond the second one. He was talking about the third one.
It's not my fault. I went looking to see if there had ever been a Kingman crash, because the stories are there was, and the stories are there aren't, or never was. And so what happened was, and if you listen to the story even from the witnesses and the information that I'll present, is that there were two crashes that were known, and over the years that went by, they were blended into one crash. And the description of the location and stuff was blended, and then finally in the last 15 to 20 years, the exaggerators have eliminated the craft altogether, and there was nothing. And but there were two crashes, one on the 18th. Well, I'm sorry, there was a landing of a flying saucer. That's what they call it, okay? And so it isn't unidentified. And a flying saucer elongated 30 feet in length, approximately 18 feet in diameter, 14 feet in the center cupola of the craft, as far as height versus width, and which I have drawings of from the scientist that was there. And the other craft went down 4 days later on the 22nd, or 5 days later, actually 4 days later, and then, if that isn't enough problems for people living in a 3,500 member population town of Kingman, Arizona in 1953, a third one comes along, and it's like the 24th of May, and it slams right smack into the north face, coming from the north, going south, hit the north face of the Wallapai Mountain, and instantaneously set it on fire. And which the response is, they've got to put the fire out. And at the scene of the fire, two men, inappropriately dressed for the area, and strange looking by description by even the local newspaper, were apprehended, and they were escorted by a Forest Service worker to the sheriff's office in the 1910 Mojave County Courthouse basement, which is below grade, meaning there are no doors or windows to the outside. It is a cast-in-place concrete and steel reinforced structure that still stands. It has a ceiling, which would be a floor on the next floor above, of about 14 inches thick concrete, all side walls, no way out, and it was the sheriff's office with 4 deputies and there were locked doors, 2 doors to get in and out of the main area. These two people, two strange-looking men, were put in was later called an interrogation room. They called it a detention room at the time, locked in because the sheriff wasn't there. This is like Mayberry, and he's down at the stream fishing or whatever. I'm just teasing. We had a big job.
So what happened? Cut to the chase, brother. Cut to the chase. What happened?
Yeah, what happened? They got the sheriff. The two guys are locked in the two strange-looking men are locked in the room. The Forest Service worker sits on an oak bench outside the door, which is there at this moment. I have photos of that. And the sheriff came up. He was briefed on what happened, told them to open the door. They stepped in. Nobody was in that room. they would have
I
had
love
to
it,
have
Gene.
passed.
Gene, there we go. It's a trickster.
Yeah.
Of course.
Huh? That document is from the museum here. And made front page as far as the strange-looking man brought down and the whole thing. The interesting thing to me, because I won't show this story yet because it'll be with Terminal Approach, is this happened another time, and there was a different kind of response. But this time the sheriff did nothing. He didn't have them seal the building, close off the roads. There weren't many to Kingman, and issue an APB. Nothing. It was like, let's all go have dinner. And two guys, they're identified. They're in the UFO file at the museum, and they just vanished off the face of the earth. I can't tell you how.
Vanished off the face of the earth. They just disappeared. They beamed up. They said, Scotty, beam me up.
Yeah, they got past a guy sitting at the door. They got past 4 deputies. Went out 3 locked doors.
Yeah, I love
Nobody
it when
saw him.
Scotty's there right on, right at the end of the episode. Boom, Scotty, get us out of here. Boom.
Yeah, or, there you go. I can't do that. A person might speculate that they were sending a message out to the people, like the Forest Service worker and the deputy, we aren't the droid you want, or something, right out of like what you see in a science fiction with Star Wars.
Right.
We are teleported.
Right.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what, I know this, that we're talking to Harry Drew and Ruben Uriarte with Gene and Chris until we beam up. And I know some of our critics have said that we should have beamed up a long, long time ago. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
What's safer and cheaper than prescription drugs?
Glad you asked. The answer is Renovation Teas. Herbal remedies are much safer and much cheaper than prescription drugs. Taste great, and most importantly, herbal teas are effective and non-addictive. Renovation Tea is especially unique, and here's why. We spent years researching herbs and their beneficial properties. Renovation Teas uses only 100% organic, fair trade herbs. Our teas are blended towards specific ailments and health conditions, such as diabetes, blood pressure, anxiety, libido, detox, and much more. All Renovation Teas are formulated and hand-filled in Arkansas. Take care of yourself naturally, the way Mother Nature intended. Order Renovation Teas at renovationtea.com or call 870-784-3121. That's 870-784-3121. Renovation Teas. Renovate your health one bag at a time.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Bring me up, Scotty. No, I actually have some sound effects of the transporter, but we won't use them because they're probably copyrighted. Harry Drew and Ruben Uriarte with Gene and Chris on the Paracast, focusing very heavily on a series of UFO-related events in Kingman, Arizona.
let's find out from Ruben what you're going to be presenting at UFOCon this coming weekend in San Francisco down at the Santa Clara Marriott. Ruben, what are you going to be talking about?
I'm actually the first speaker that kicked off the event, the entire conference. So they gave me the honor of doing that. But it's only for a 30-minute presentation. I'll be sharing the podium with my former Assistant State Director, Lester Velez, who will be talking about OPUS, which is the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, an organization to assist abductees or people who have had paranormal experiences. We have I sit on their board, and we have a referral network where we have psychiatrists or hypnotherapists, people who can work with these people. Now, my presentation, it's a little bit of everything that why I got involved in this whole phenomena. I'm going to be talking about the research that both my co-author Noe and I have done in the Southwest on the 3 crash retrieval cases. While we'll be talking a bit about the aliens in the forest, that was the last time you had us on, about the gentleman at the bow and arrow hunter.
Which generated an incredible amount of activity on that particular show thread at forum.theparacast.com. It was one of the most popular threads for months, Ruben. I know you tuned in and chimed in once or twice, but a fascinating case. So what other things are you going to be covering?
From there, I'll be talking about, as well as MUFON in general. But I have some statistics I wanted to share with you. Actually, you're the first radio show I'm going to share this, because I think what people need to know is what's happening in our skies. And because I am the Northern California State Director, and I'm also involved as the Deputy Director of Investigations, I report directly to our Director of Investigations, who I oversee the international scene. I work closely with other countries. But in terms of categories and statistics, we have a database that Gene and Chris that we started in year 2000, and up to now we've had over 38,000 cases that have been reported to us, sightings, just a variety of from objects. We have 23 categories or shapes of objects that people report, ranging from star-like, circles, sphere, triangles, discs, fireballs, cigar, egg-shaped boomerang, and that. One thing that Harry was talking about is the whole thing about objects that are landing, hovering. Let me find it right here. Landings, hoverings, and takeoffs. And I want to give you. I have a breakdown of statistics here. Back in, I'll only focus on 4 years. From the year 2000, we had, in the year 2009, we had over 337 reports of landings, hoverings, and takeoffs. The following year, we had 279, so it dropped down. It dropped down slightly to 258 in the year 2011. Right now, although it's 2012, I only have 8 months of reports. We have 137, but so here we have 337 in 2009 of reports of landings, hoverings, and takeoffs, and then it dwindles down to 137. The reason why I bring that up is that I'm really more fascinated with the reported entities, the reports on entities that might be tied in with the actual landings or possibly with abductions. Let me give you a snapshot of what happened here. We had over 391 reports of entities back in 2009. It dropped down to 141 in 2010, and it really dropped down to 69. So from 391 reports to 69, now it's gone up to 149 reports in 2012. I know people get bored with statistics, but when you're able to analyze what the heck is happening in our skies by shapes of objects, I could tell you, I have the same breakdown for flying saucers, oval shapes, boomerangs. So guess what's the biggest, most reported statistic-wise, what shape, what object is being reported out there, Chris? Jeannie?
Either an orb or a triangle.
Actually, I have the breakdown of triangles, and I'll give you that first. And then for triangles, as I have it broken down in 3 categories. I have it broken down by triangles, and then of course there's the chevron or the V-shaped objects, and then there's the boomerangs. But for triangles, and we're talking about the Belgian type triangles there.
Combine them all together. Boomerang, triangle. At night. It's really hard to determine shape. So we're talking about arrays of lights, basically, which to me is not very accurate. But just kind of lump them all together for us.
Well, if I was to add that up, we're looking just in 2009. I'm looking at about over close to 1,000 cases of triangles, boomerangs, and shape objects. But and then when it comes to spheres, and these are the orbs, then I'm looking at, this is the big one. I'm going to give you
number on the triangles. I missed that.
Pardon me?
The numbers on the triangle or chevron or boomerang shapes. What was the composite number?
Oh, I'm giving just an estimate because I have to total them up. But it's close to 1,000 reports for 2012 so far.
Okay, how about spheres or orbs?
Spheres are the biggest one, and so far in 8 months of data, I'm talking from January to September, where I have over 1,655 reports. I still have 4 months of data to wait for. That's going to be the biggest category.
Yeah.
But
I assumed as much.
Yeah. Why? I mean, it's an interesting. We need to take a good look at.
No, it's pretty easy to figure out why. We're dealing with plasma effects that tend to shield the shape of an object behind it, oftentimes appearing to be an orb or oval-shaped light, glowing light that tends to morph a little bit, and you can't really make out outlines.
Some people have, where we've had witnesses describe the geodesic patterns of lights inside within the orb. And that's how, if they get there close enough to give a description of it.
Right.
But the other thing is that, in the earlier conversation about airlines and that, so many of these orbs do follow or have a tendency of following passenger planes, and we have had reports from airline pilots, be it from our NARDCAP, which is the National Aviation Reporting Center for Anomalous Phenomena. The question is, the big concern is the technology that these things have can interfere with the flight systems of these aircraft to the point that it could be a safety issue. That's been the biggest concern. You're dealing with a technology that's beyond what we have, and obviously it can affect our flight systems or aircraft, or even be able to knock out our electrical grid system, perhaps, or even stopping cars. I mean, we've had so many cases in the past.
Right. We don't know that. We haven't established a direct connection yet scientifically, but to err on the side of safety and better judgment, obviously this would be a safety concern to the FAA and to other government officials, obviously.
Obviously, we have to break right now. We have Ruben Uriarte, Harry Drew with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, you've seen all those crazy, wacky products on TV. The perfect tortilla, easy covers, hot booties, furniture fix, petty spin, and more. Where do you find all that stuff? You go to AsSeenOnTV.com because this is the one-stop source for all of these TV goods advertised. Find all your favorites as seen on TV. Check them out as SeenOnTV.com. And by the way, save 10%. Here's what you do. Use the code SEEN1, S-E-E-N number 1, SEEN1. Go to AsSeenOnTV.com to order. Save 10%. Purchase this summer's hottest As Seen on TV items. Save 10%. Or call 1-866-277-3366, 1-866-277-3366. The code SEEN1 to save 10%.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
What's safer and cheaper than prescription drugs?
Glad you asked. The answer is Renovation Teas. Herbal remedies are much safer and much cheaper than prescription drugs. Taste great, and most importantly, herbal teas are effective and non-addictive. Renovation Tea is especially unique, and here's why. We spent years researching herbs and their beneficial properties. Renovation Teas uses only 100% organic, fair trade herbs. Our teas are blended towards specific ailments and health conditions, such as diabetes, blood pressure, anxiety, libido, detox, and much more. All Renovation Teas are formulated and hand-filled in Arkansas. Take care of yourself naturally, the way Mother Nature intended. Order Renovation Teas at renovationtea.com or call 870-784-3121. That's 870-784-3121. Renovation Teas. Renovate your health one bag at a time.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy-free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, Terraganics.com. Or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
With Gene and Chris, you're in the Paracast. We have Harry Drew and Ruben Uriarte. When we broke, Chris was talking with Ruben about different reports and different theories, and let's continue with that.
So, Ruben, we have, 1,000, let's say, roughly triangle, chevron, boomerang-shaped objects versus 1,600 spheres.
Yeah.
So spheres is number 1, triangles would be number 2. What would be number 3?
Flying saucers. They're the big one.
So conventional structured flying disc type, convex disc type reports.
There's another category called oval shape, which I would think I would combine that with the flying saucer.
It could be a sphere, too, looked on, from an oblique angle or something. It's rough. You have to break it down into daylight and nighttime, obviously, to get a real accurate sampling of what you're looking at here. You're going to be addressing this, kind of rudimentary pattern recognition, sort of looking at patterns of these sighting reports. And you're going to be talking about some of your work with NOAA, obviously. Who else are you looking forward to, sitting in on their lecture besides our present company here, Harry and myself? I'd be honored if you watch me. Who else besides Richard Dolan and Michael Schratt, myself, and Harry are you interested in watching at the conference?
You said it right there. I mean, there are some other interesting speakers, but I'm hoping, you know how it is when you're in a conference, you do a lot of networking, and I'll be doing a lot of other work, but I really would like to listen to Richard and Harry, yourself, possibly Daryl. I know Daryl. Alfred Weber, I haven't met him, but he'll be talking on exopolitics. So it's kind of interesting that this conference we have what I call more nuts and bolts researchers, and then you have the other that go into the esoteric or into their own theories that are way out there. So
they've cast a broad net with speakers this year for their inaugural year. Victoria Jacks is probably scratching her head going, I wonder which the speakers is going to stick.
Yeah, I mean, people like entertainment, so there'll be some very popular speakers that focus on conspiracy more related. Actually, I like to listen to her, Laura Eisenhower.
I can't wait to see Andrew Basiago. I mean, the guy's got credentials coming out the wazoo. His story is beyond believable.
And I'll tell you what, we've invited him to come on the Paracast. What's the status of that, Chris?
I never followed up on that. He emailed me about a month or so ago and said, hey, I'm ready. Thanks for reminding me.
You'll probably get a chance to talk to him there. On Friday, we're having to meet the speakers. So hopefully we'll get
right. Well, it's speakers meeting speakers too. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I want to go back to the Harry's presentation here because the 50s was really a very interesting decade where you had the back in 52, 53, the Pentagon ordering the Air Force and Navy to shoot down UFOs at that time. And then you had all these other incidents. And then, of course, Hollywood was also coming out with some very interesting movies, some great classics. And my favorite dealt with is The Thing. Remember that one? The 1951.
The Thing from Another World.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But it deals with, it's 3 years after Roswell, and it deals with the whole thing of disclosure and cover-up and, and a crash retrieval out of the ice there in the Arctic. It's very, very convenient. I mean, it fits in with what's going on today. Of course, you also had, we're talking about what is it that could have, why we have so many flying saucers or so many discs crashing and coming up with the various theories. And I was thinking of that movie in 1954, Earth versus the Flying Saucers, where the scientists trying to figure out the way to knock out these flying saucers.
They were using some kind of high-frequency sound to bring it down. Now, that was the film. By the way, very interesting thing about Earth versus the Flying Saucers. A little bit of history here.
Cool.
What happened here is the studio that produced that movie, and the special effects were by the great Ray Harryhausen, who did a lot of stop-motion animation. They bought one of Major Kehoe's books, and they used it as a raw outline for a very traditional aliens on the loose kind of science fiction film. But it's interesting that Kehoe obviously was very, very upset with the finished product for reasons that were obvious when you see it. As it goes, of the films of the era of the 1950s, Earth versus the Flying Saucers was one of the better ones. But you have to think of Kehoe's reaction because they bought his book and wove this science fiction movie about it. And that, my friend, is the rest of the story.
Very good.
Thank you.
And, of course, there was other great movies, too. But you see what so much that was being focused on. It's one of those fascinating decades that I'm always interested in listening about crash retrievals and interviewing witnesses that lived during that time, like our witness in the other Roswell, where he was a fighter pilot. and he was flying his F-86 and came across that object flying over his flight formation. Unfortunately, he was still alive, and we were able to spend hours with him over his testimony.
You know, I have a kind of a rough question here that is interesting, and that is, with these particular episodes, we know with Roswell, we had several official explanations from the Air Force or the U.S. government about it. We had no response with regard to Aztec. Did the government have any official comments to make about any of the episodes of Kingman? This could be either you, Ruben, or you, Harry, to answer.
Officially, yeah, nothing officially, if you're asking me.
Okay. So there's no response. As far as they're concerned, it never happened.
I can tell you one thing if you give me just a second. Arthur Stansel, who was the specialist who was on upshot NATO nuclear bomb tests, which, by the way, did not happen on the dates. There were 2 bomb blasts. They didn't happen on the dates that the craft went down. So that kind of takes away EMP effect stories. But one of the things that he mentioned was he actually thought, because they told everybody on the bus that they were being taken to examine a highly secret experimental Air Force craft. They just kind of took that as the gospel, and 3 weeks later, after he had long since returned back to where he worked, he went to a drive-in theater, and here was the colonel who had them take the oath, raise their right hand, and take the secrecy oath on the bus before they left. And this colonel was involved with Operation Blue Book. And then he said, I realized that wasn't a super secret experimental Air Force plane. It was, in fact, a saucer, a UFO. But they took things literally in 1953 in a way that we don't do now.
This break we have to take literally. We have Harry Drew and Ruben Uriarte. You're on with Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Did you know that 50% of heart attacks are brought on by infections? Did you know that hospitals are breeding grounds for antibiotic-resistant bugs like MRSA? The environment is infected with parasites, and the mild winter means ticks with Lyme disease, mosquitoes with West Nile virus, and cold and flu viruses will be on the rise. Protect yourself with nature's natural antiparasitic, antiviral, antifungal, antibiotic, Allicin, the heart of garlic. Get concentrated protection with Ali-C and Ali-Ban from AffinityHealthProducts.com. 1 capsule of Ali-C equals 40 cloves of garlic or 100 garlic pills. With no garlic breath, Ali-Ban has Allicin in spray, liquid, and cream forms with 3 times more strength than leading brands and costs less. Go to AffinityHealthProducts.com, spelled AFFINITY, healthproducts.com, or call 877-888-7126. That's 877-888-7126. Protect yourself with Ali-C or Ali-Ban from AffinityHealthProducts.com.
The worst drought in 50 years continues, and the first 6 months of 2012 marks the hottest half year on record. 78% of the Midwest Corn Belt is in drought conditions. Not only corn, but soy, alfalfa, fruits, vegetables, and wheat are all impacted, raising prices. The cost to feed livestock is forcing farmers and ranchers out of business, blowing up your food prices. The only strategy to counter this is to freeze your food cost at today's prices by getting your own supply of foods from eFoods Direct now. As the price of raw ingredients increases, eFoods will have to raise prices too. Now is the time to get your supply. I recently increased my supply from eFoods Direct because we have all known this was coming. You know about their delicious long-term storable foods. The fact is you can eat it any time to save money today. And because it stores for 25 years, you're locking in today's prices and avoiding the rising food cost. Don't wait. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Call 800-409-5633 or efoodsdirect.com/Alex. You can bet your life on eFoods Direct.
America, land of the free. But how free can you be, really, when internet viruses and malware can attack your computer? Sure, you have antivirus protection, but it's not free, is it? Until now. Now, Zone Alarm offers free antivirus protection. And independent studies show that Zone Alarm provides better malware protection than even Norton and McAfee. And they're not free, are they? Declare your freedom and go to getbetterforfree.com. That's getbetterforfree.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hello, this is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize when Chris starts talking like that, he is wearing his trickster hat. I could see it now. I could see through the microphone. Because, he's using a microphone that we provided to him, and therefore I can see through that microphone. There's a tiny webcam there, so I see what he's doing. I know what he's doing, and he's wearing his trickster hat, right, Chris?
Oh, yeah. Now, it's going to be on and screwed down tight next weekend at UFOCon in Santa Clara at the Marriott. If you're in the area, I do invite you to attend. I think I'm going to be speaking, at 2 or something, 2:30 on Sunday. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to meet you, Harry, and of course, Ruben, catch up, and got a couple of things to bounce off you that I've been working on. But this has been a great show. I think crash retrievals, this is one of the more compelling sort of where the rubber meets the road, literally, subject areas of the field. And I really appreciate, again, the amount of work and effort, research, investigation you guys have put in on these cases, really. My hat goes off to you. And I think this has really been an informative show. I think people are getting a really good education. I look forward to having you guys back on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being on the show, and I look forward to seeing as many people as can get over to the Bay Area UFOCon.
I'll tell you what, in the remaining moments, we have 2 segments roughly of the show left. Let's explore further details about Kingman. So now, all this happened in 1953. Were there any other incidents in Kingman after that date? This is 59 years ago. After that date that are as significant?
None that I found.
Well, wait a minute. We have that weird event that happened, in 2009, just up the road in Needles, where some sort of object went down and apparently
I'm
helicopters.
That, but that's not Kingman, yeah.
Right, but it's just up the road a piece. I mean, out here in the Southwest, that's next door.
How many miles we're talking about, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know, about 70, maybe 60.
Okay, so you see, if you're in a larger city, 60 or 70 miles is a big deal because with rush hour traffic, it takes you 3 days to get across town.
When I lived in the San Luis Valley, it was 60 miles to the nearest stoplight and about 65 miles to the nearest hospital. So
I know, of course, when you're going to, say, Las Vegas and traveling on Route 93, and you have to wait for, as they say, a parlor room break.
Right.
Is that what Barbara calls it?
Actually, she uses another term, but I can't say it on the radio. No, she's a sweet girl. She doesn't do that. But seriously, okay, so we understand that as the crow flies, it's, a 50-minute drive because you don't drive at 50 or 60 miles an hour out there in the country. You drive at more appropriate speeds.
Well, it's in the same neighborhood in terms of geography out here. Living in Arizona and having driven 93 many times, did a really cool ghost haunting investigation right in downtown Kingman a couple of years back, which still baffles me. We came up with some really incredible stuff there. I mean, this whole area down here is a hotbed of activity, and I'm not surprised that if you draw a triangle from Prescott to Kingman, over to Flagstaff, and then down to Prescott, a lot of interesting stuff has gone on here. And, of course, it is the most sacred spot to the Hopi Indians. Of course, the San Francisco Peaks sort of dominate this particular part of the region. And, of course, this is where the Kachinas, the sky people, come and go, according to the indigenous tradition here. So it's not, I think, by accident that we're seeing a dogged investigation like Harry's doing and Ruben and others kind of exposing certain hotspot areas around the continent that deserve the kind of scrutiny you guys are applying to it. And, again, my hat's off to you and looking forward to meeting you. So other than the recent Needles event, Harry, have you heard of any other events? What about that strange story that Linda Howe came up with at the Crash Retrieval Conference? I think it was the first or second one, about a crash right on the Nevada-Utah border that Ron Regehr, I think, pretty much refuted. Do you have any information about that particular BLM facility up there on the border? Are you familiar with that case?
What year are you speaking about?
Well, there's no year attached to it. It's just a giant triangular form that's been covered up right on the border. It's a BLM monitoring project, a long-term project monitoring the effectiveness of desert environment for bovine grazing, is what it turns out to be. But are you familiar with the claim that that's a crash saucer and it was so big they couldn't take it out, so they covered it up?
Well, that's entirely possible. One of the things I can tell you from being a museum director and curator of archaeology and anthropology, one of the things that if we can't excavate or clear the site, we pave it or make it a parking lot or something else, and it's sitting right
like Jimmy Hoffa, right?
In sight,
Like Jimmy Hoffa, he's in the visitors' end zone in concrete at Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
So can we assume here that maybe there's a UFO that's buried beneath the concrete as we drive in and around that area? Maybe we are coming in close proximity to one of these things?
Can't say.
I mean, you guys raised the point.
Yeah.
That was kind of a weird.
You were talking about ghosts, and I'm going to add someone who is an expert on ghosts to tours that I do here. And Top Secret Tours will be back here, and I'll lead a group on the 19th of October back out to a site. They've actually been there. And it's the kind of thing where when I show them what I'm going to show them, and then they actually see it, you can hear them gasp for air because it's so startlingly real, because the clue that I got that led me to the main site was something nobody knew about, including me, till I got it, and it was the road map. It was the key that unlocked that lock to the last thing I needed to know to actually find the place that would lead me right straight to where the site was. And with that, with what I'm going to do, other than directly with Top Secret Tours, but through Out Ventures, is I'll do some tours there. And I have a good friend who's an expert on the ghosts and things will bump in the night here in Kingman, and he can start off the tour and take people to these places. And so that's an opportunity for anyone that's listening. If you've ever wondered, we've already had a couple of the ghost hunters that were over here looking at stuff without me.
The Brunswick Hotel, and this comes from my own personal experience and being involved in an investigation. There's something weird about that place, and we did get some evidence that is quite compelling. We should probably do a whole show just on the variety of unusual phenomena that have been reported in and around, right in and around Kingman. But so you're involved in now promoting tours and helping guide people to sites and that sort of thing?
Well, it's a controlled thing because it needs to be safe. Some of these areas, and I need to stress this, I have done this for a long time, but you should not go or try to go to these places by yourself. You should not go with anything less than a 4x4 four-wheel drive and another person with one, in case you're broken down, you're out of you're out of cell phone range, you are in extremely remote places, and there are dangerous things that live here. 11 of the 15 state poisonous creatures are here, including the Mojave Green, and it wasn't until a couple of months ago that I saw my first Mojave Green at the BLM office. It wasn't green, and I thought about the butte that I climbed 3 times to look at the scar from the Red Lake vehicle.
You know what? I listened to this, and maybe I don't want to go on this trip. I'll have to see. But despite that, we have Harry Drew.
Come on, we're talking about
do a break,
getting out in the field, man. Rolling your sleeves up.
I got to do a break. Hey, I'm late for the break. Harry Drew with Ruben Uriarte, with Gene and Chris, and Gene does not wish to leave his palatial estate. Actually, it's a shack in downtown Scottsdale, Arizona. With Gene and Chris, you're in
Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio. Whether it's personal mail, whether it's business email, you want reliable, dependable delivery, freedom from spam, freedom from viruses. Well, Polaris Mail offers professional email hosting services for your personal or small business use. Each account uses 25 gigabytes of storage, an easy-to-use webmail interface, and full mobile sync. Sign up today for a 30-day free trial at polarismail.com, polarismail.com.
Let's keep preparedness simple. Do you need stuff for disasters? Of course you do. For over 15 years, disasterstuff.com has, stuff for disasters. See? Easy to remember. Disasterstuff.com. Want free shipping on a new Berkey water filter? Disasterstuff.com is the official Berkey in-stock shipping center. Lots of folks want an EMP Faraday bag to protect sensitive electronics during a solar or nuclear event. Now for a limited time, all survival gear purchases over $75 include a free 8x8-inch EMP Faraday bag. Just enter promo code EMP BAG when you check out at disasterstuff.com. We're also a Country Living Grain Mill authorized dealer. Plus, we offer freeze-dried foods by Alpine Air and Wise Foods. We also carry emergency kits, survival seeds, and much more. Preparedness should be simple, and it is. Just remember, disasterstuff.com. Freedom through self-reliance and personal responsibility.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Every day, nearly 3,000 families enter into foreclosure and face losing their home. If you're currently behind on your mortgage, you can still avoid foreclosure. You can save your home, but you need to act now. We're Allied State Foreclosure Services. We're experts in saving homes from foreclosure. With just one phone call to us, you can stop the foreclosure process, lower your monthly mortgage payments, and save your home. Call now. The call is free with no obligation. 1-800-597-8843. Call us if you've been threatened with foreclosure, denied loan modification, or missed a payment on your mortgage. If you've been a victim of a predatory loan or are upside down on your mortgage, even if you've lost your job and you're worried about losing your home, don't wait. Call us now and let us help you save your home. You've worked hard to build a life with your family. Let us help you keep your home. Call now before it's too late. 1-800-597-8843. 1-800-597-8843. 1-800-597-8843.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
This is Garage Radio. And the reason we call it Garage Radio is I do it from my garage. No, I do not. I'm just telling stories.
I set you up on that one, dude.
Oh, you sure did. Harry Drew joins us with Ruben Uriarte. Now, this area covering Arizona with Kingman and Sedona, all that, would we, Chris, consider this what is called a window area because it is sensitive to odd events?
Absolutely. The San Francisco Peaks are like one of the most crucial ground zero geographic locations in the entire Southwest of the United States. And there are areas like this everywhere. Everywhere you go around the planet, you're going to find places where you have a concentration of a variety and intensity of unusual phenomena that seem to be centered around a location-specific area. And I think Kingman fits right into this like really cool little triangle we have here in eastern Arizona. And I think Harry would agree. Ruben would agree. He's been involved in working on a pretty interesting little triangular situation over, what do they call it? The Sierra Triangle, Ruben? That goes from Nevada over into California where Steve Fawcett went down.
That's on that other. But when you were talking about the geography, I was thinking of the Big Bend area of West Texas, the Marfa Lights. Well,
that's true. That's where you're going to be having a conference down in Presidio, correct? Why don't you tell us about that? I love the photograph, by the way, of you guys, your faces replacing you and Stanton Friedman and Noe, and your faces are in place of Pancho Villa. And great shot.
Oh, God, I know. We're going to, who knows how that's
I got that.
out, But
tell us about the conference.
We're having the Border Zone International UFO Conference. It's going to be held at Presidio, Texas on October 19th and 20th. And what it's about, the city of Presidio is actually honoring our book, Mexico Roswell, because in our research, the crash UFO occurred about 30 miles south of Presidio, Texas. Well, the director of the Department of Tourism really liked the idea and decided let's have a UFO festival centered on this whole case, and at the same time invite prominent people, other researchers. We'll have a lot of events to promote tourism. So this is going to become like another Roswell event, and we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be really an interesting. At the same time, the reason why we say international, right across the border, the city of Ojinaga, which is the border city to Presidio, our friends, our Mexican investigators, are also going to be putting on the UFO conference. So we're seeing UFO conferences on both sides of the border.
So are we seeing, awesome. Ruben, and you get involved in a lot of conferences and stuff, are we seeing more interest these days in UFOs than previously?
Well, I think so. I mean, and what I think what's happening is that, for example, I mentioned Laredo, Texas. Laredo is organizing a UFO festival, and that's being put on by their Heritage Society. So, and here you have the Chamber of Commerce from Presidio doing this. So I think, over the years, with over the various programs that have been on about the phenomenon, and now you're seeing mainstream groups taking over, and I'm just jazzed about it. I mean, it's not a UFO organizer or promoter. These are people that are from mainstream groups that saying, hey, something unusual happened here in our area. Let's focus on that. And, perhaps it'll bring tourism, but it'll also bring attention to the phenomena.
But do you wonder also in a case like that whether the real concern is to learn more about the phenomenon or to bring in the tourists and filling up the hotels and the concession stands?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, they're interested in.
Well, Gene, there's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
It's like
sure.
Everybody wants to be Roswell. Aztec, kind of made their stab at it. I think it's a good thing because people get jazzed, they get intrigued, and then if they're motivated, they actually do their research, find out the facts, and then draw informed conclusions.
Well, certainly, if other areas other than Roswell that have compelling case histories are given attention, I think we all be grateful because I feel that we're so overwhelmed with Roswell as still the benchmark case, and it shouldn't be. So exploring other cases, exploring the Mexican Roswell or exploring the cases at Kingman, this would divert our attention from Roswell, and that's wonderful.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I agree. I don't know about...
maybe we should have a Kingman UFO conference. That would be interesting because Kingman has so many things. It's interesting. On the way to Las Vegas, this most recent trip, we stopped at one of these mini marts to get some coffee and all that stuff. And I saw this little area where they had these Area 51 postcards. So they've got the UFO legend down pat over there. Of course, I then showed him the license plate on my car, which Chris knows what that says.
He's, oh no, you're one of them.
What does your license plate say?
Mr. MIB, I think, right?
It's the MIB. And it comes from the lines of the Will Smith song, "We are the MIB, the Galaxy Protectors." The MIB.
My license plate says "E.T. Amigo."
Si, senor. See? We're starting a trend here. The motor vehicle bureaus in Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada should be pushing this UFO connection.
I'm sure they will.
We have to see how that goes. Just a quick look at the future before we let you go, Harry. For Kingman, what can we do today to try to validate more of the details of this case? We're talking about something that happened 59 years ago, and obviously a lot of the key people are no longer here. What can we do today to go over the loose ends and see what's going on?
Put to me?
Yep.
Yes.
You're Mr. Kingman.
Well, get to Arizona. I can't wait to talk to Ruben about the triangle or boomerang shape craft. I don't know the difference as far as configuration exactly because they both seem like about the same thing. But they're here, and we still have the same flyway, and UFOs are seen here. 1 or 2, sometimes 6 or 8, and not like I described from 1953, but they're happening, and it's almost once a week, sometimes just several times a month.
Okay, this is seeing UFOs. Obviously, we're not seeing more crashes.
Yeah, and they're flying. We talk about Las Vegas. Across the desert floor, if you look, you can almost snap a line right straight south by southeast, goes right through Red Lake, the Wallapai Valley, and right on out, heading south. And they fly right through that. And people see them all the time. People driving down modern day Highway 93, coming from Las Vegas or going to Las Vegas, you're apt to see one. If you turn on 68, headed towards Laughlin, Nevada, going across Golden Valley, you're liable to see one fly through there. And they're low, and from what I've seen, in my vernacular, I would call them machines.
Okay, well, Harry Drew, tell our listeners very quickly where they can find more information on the things you do.
You can find more information at my website at www.kingmanufocrashes.com.
Thank you. Ruben, where can we find more of your stuff?
Oh, it's www.roswellbooks.com.
And Chris O'Brien, how about you?
Hey, I'm right here at the Paracast. We urge everybody to participate at forum.theparacast.com. My website is Our Strange Planet.
And by the way, you can find us on Twitter, where we are known as the Paracast. And also, you can check out our site at theparacast.com. To Harry Drew, Ruben Uriarte, thank you both for joining us this week on the Paracast.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.